The sun hung low over Asheville, casting a warm glow on the old family home that had seen better days. I stood in the living room, surrounded by peeling wallpaper and dust motes dancing in the shafts of light. The air was thick with the scent of paint and wood, a mix that reminded me of childhood summers spent here. My husband, Mark, had always been indifferent to home projects, but I felt an urge to breathe life into our stagnant marriage. This renovation was my attempt to reclaim something we had lost over the years. Mark was at work, his long hours leaving me alone with my thoughts. I had envisioned this project as a way for us to reconnect, but he seemed more interested in his job than in our home or me. I sighed as I surveyed the mess, furniture pushed aside, tools scattered across the floor. The house mirrored my feelings of neglect and decay. As I climbed the creaky stairs to the attic, my heart raced with anticipation. Perhaps I could find something that would spark joy or nostalgia. The attic was cluttered with boxes filled with memories, old toys, books with frayed edges, and photographs yellowed by time. As I rummaged through a dusty box labeled family, my fingers brushed against something smooth. It was a photo of us from years ago, Mark and me laughing at a picnic under a tree in full bloom. I clutched the photo tightly as emotions surged within me. Those moments felt so distant now, overshadowed by routine and unspoken resentments. Just then, I heard a knock at the door below, a sound that pulled me back to reality. When I descended the stairs, surprise washed over me as Alex stepped inside. He was my nephew, 25 and full of life, visiting from college for spring break. His presence instantly brought warmth into the dimly lit house. "Aunt Emily," he exclaimed with an infectious smile that made my heart flutter unexpectedly. "Alex, what are you doing here?" I asked, attempting to mask my surprise with casualness. "I thought I'd help you out with the renovations," he replied enthusiastically. "I have some free time." I hesitated for a moment before nodding in agreement. Having him here felt like a breath of fresh air amid my suffocating loneliness. We spent hours working side by side, sanding down cabinets and painting walls, and as we worked, laughter filled the empty spaces that had grown silent over time. "Remember when we used to build forts in this living room?" Alex asked between strokes of paint. I chuckled softly at the memory. "Yes. And your dad would always find us hiding under blankets." Our conversation flowed easily as we reminisced about family gatherings and shared stories about our lives since then. In those moments together, it became clear how much I missed genuine connection, a feeling that had faded from my marriage. As dusk settled outside and shadows crept across the room, Alex suggested taking a break on the porch to enjoy some fresh air. We stepped outside into the cool evening breeze. It felt invigorating after hours trapped indoors. "I didn't know you were feeling this way about your home," Alex said thoughtfully as he leaned against the railing beside me. "It's just everything feels stale," I admitted quietly, glancing at him sideways. "Sometimes it's hard not to feel neglected." He nodded knowingly but didn't press further, a relief amid my vulnerability. Later that night, after sharing pizza on the porch and exchanging stories about our lives, the good and bad, I felt lighter than I had in years. But beneath that lightness lingered an unsettling awareness. This newfound connection stirred emotions within me that were both exhilarating and terrifying. As we returned inside to continue working on one last wall before calling it a night, something unexpected caught Alex's eye. A small box tucked away on a shelf near where we'd been working all day. "What's this?" he asked curiously as he pulled it down carefully. "Just some old things from when Mark and I got married," I replied hesitantly as he opened it up to reveal an assortment of trinkets, our wedding invitation, dried flowers from bouquets long gone, and even an old ring nestled at the bottom, a symbol of promises made long ago. "I forgot about this," I murmured softly while picking up the ring between my fingers. Memories flooded back, our wedding day filled with hope and dreams for our future together. Alex watched closely as emotions swirled around us like dust motes in sunlight, the warmth between us palpable yet fraught with complexity. "I think you should keep it out," he suggested gently after observing my contemplative expression. "It might remind you why you fell in love." His words struck deep within me. They held truth wrapped in sincerity but also hinted at something unspoken lingering beneath our surface interaction, a tension growing stronger each day we spent together during this renovation project. As night enveloped Asheville outside, the stars twinkling above like distant memories, I couldn't shake off how Alex's presence filled voids left unaddressed for too long within myself, yet guilt simmered beneath it all like an ember threatening to ignite into flames if not handled carefully. "Thanks for being here tonight," I said, finally breaking through silence while placing down both ring and memories onto nearby table. An acknowledgement of what once was but also recognition of what could be if left unchecked between us moving forward amidst ongoing renovations both inside home and hearts alike. But just then came another knock at door. The unmistakable sound echoed through hallways bringing forth uncertainty alongside familiar dread creeping back into focus. Mark must have returned earlier than expected from work. And suddenly everything felt unfinished, not just renovations but also feelings tangled among complexities waiting patiently under surface readying themselves for confrontation soon enough. The sound of the door creaking open sent a jolt through me. Mark stepped inside, shaking off the rain from his jacket, oblivious to the tension that had built during the storm. His face was a mask of fatigue, yet there was an underlying warmth in his greeting. "Hey, Em. You're still at it?" "Just trying to make some progress before the weekend," I replied, forcing a smile that felt more like a grimace. I glanced over at Alex, who stood awkwardly in the corner, paintbrush in hand, his eyes darting between us. "Looks like you've got plenty of help," Mark remarked, eyeing Alex with a hint of suspicion. "You two have been spending a lot of time together." "Just getting things done," I said quickly, trying to deflect his gaze. The guilt gnawed at my insides. I couldn't shake off the warmth that lingered from our earlier moments together, those shared stories and laughter that felt so different from what I had with Mark. "I'll grab us some dinner," Mark announced, breaking the momentary silence. "You want anything?" "No, I'm good," I replied too quickly. As he turned to leave again, I felt a wave of relief wash over me but also an unsettling sense of loss. Alone with Alex again, the air crackled with unspoken words. The storm continued outside, rain pounding against the windows as we resumed our work in silence. Every brushstroke felt heavier now as if each stroke was layered with unacknowledged feelings. I caught Alex's eye briefly. There was something electric there, a connection we both tried to ignore. "Do you think he suspects anything?" Alex asked quietly after a few minutes. "I don't know," I admitted softly. "I hope not." My heart raced as guilt battled against something else, something exhilarating and terrifying. We worked side by side for hours until exhaustion settled in our bones. The storm raged outside, creating an atmosphere that felt charged with possibility and danger alike. As night fell and darkness wrapped around us like a blanket, we took a break on the living room floor amidst scattered tools and half-finished projects. "I can't believe how much we've done today," Alex said, leaning back against the wall, his voice low and contemplative. "Yeah," I replied absently, lost in thought about how different this felt compared to my evenings spent alone with Mark, his indifference often more suffocating than comforting. The wind howled outside as lightning flashed across the sky, a reminder of nature's power that mirrored my own turbulent emotions. Just then, thunder rumbled ominously overhead. "We should probably check on things outside," Alex suggested hesitantly. Before we could move, another crash of thunder shook the house. The lights flickered before plunging us into darkness momentarily. An eerie calm enveloped everything around us. "Emily?" Mark's voice called out from the kitchen where he had been preparing dinner moments ago. "We're fine." I shouted back instinctively, but my heart raced at how close he was to discovering more than just our renovation project. When the lights returned moments later, we exchanged glances laden with unspoken understanding. This storm had brought us closer in ways neither of us anticipated or could fully comprehend yet. Suddenly feeling bold amidst uncertainty and fear swirling around us like wind through trees, I leaned closer to Alex, who mirrored my hesitation yet seemed drawn to me just as fiercely as I was drawn to him. Then it happened, we kissed. A brief but intense moment that shattered everything else around us. All doubts evaporated into thin air as warmth flooded through me like sunlight breaking through clouds after rainstorms pass by. The world outside faded away, leaving only this connection between us alive and vibrant in its rawness. "What are we doing?" he murmured against my lips when we pulled apart, breathless, both stunned by what just transpired yet unable to deny its truth anymore. "I don't know," I whispered back honestly, my heart racing not just from fear but also exhilaration. This was dangerous territory filled with unknowns, but it also felt liberating somehow too, like finally breathing after holding one's breath for far too long. Before either of us could process what had just happened fully or where it might lead next, the sound of Mark's footsteps echoed closer again, interrupting our moment once more. Reality crashed down upon me like waves crashing against rocks, eroding them slowly over time until nothing remained but remnants of what once stood strong against tides, pulling away everything familiar into depths unknown forevermore. Alex shifted away slightly as if trying to distance himself from what had occurred, while I struggled internally with guilt creeping back into my mind, threatening to drown out any semblance of joy left within me, now tainted by doubt lingering heavily amongst shadows cast by secrets held tightly beneath surface, waiting patiently for opportunity revealed themselves when least expected. Mark appeared in the doorway, looking puzzled but not suspicious enough. He simply smiled warmly at both of us seated on floor surrounded by tools scattered everywhere before announcing cheerfully, "I ordered pizza. Should be here soon." "Great," Alex replied too eagerly, perhaps trying mask confusion still lingering heavily between us both, while forcing laughter into conversation, hoping distract attention away from tension rising within, air thickening palpably around edges where boundaries blurred. Dangerously close together, threatening collapse under weight carried silently beneath surface, readying themselves for confrontation soon enough. As we ate together, huddled around coffee table, cluttered remnants, leftover construction debris mixed alongside slices, pizza consumed hurriedly beneath flickering light bulbs, illuminating faces displaying forced smiles, masking deeper truths hidden carefully behind eyes, searching desperately find clarity amidst chaos unfolding rapidly all around us, now threatening unravel everything built up over years spent building lives together, slowly eroding foundations laid long ago, crumbling under pressure. Mounting steadily, pushing towards inevitable climax soon enough. As we continued to work on the renovation, the air between Alex and me shimmered with unspoken words. Each brushstroke of paint felt like a step deeper into a labyrinth of emotions I hadn't anticipated. The house, with its peeling wallpaper and creaking floorboards, mirrored my internal struggle, the need for renewal clashing with the fear of what that renewal might mean. "Do you think we'll finish this before the holidays?" Alex asked, breaking the silence as he held the paint roller, his brow furrowed in concentration. "Maybe," I replied, my voice barely above a whisper. "It feels like we're just getting started." He nodded, but his eyes searched mine, probing for something more than just an answer about the renovation. I could feel the weight of our kiss lingering in the air between us, heavy and undeniable. The sun dipped lower in the sky, casting long shadows across the room. I stepped back to admire our progress. A fresh coat of blue on the walls breathed life into the space. Yet, as I looked around, a sense of dread began to creep in. What were we doing? This wasn't just about paint and plaster, it was about us. Just then, there was a knock at the door. My heart raced as I exchanged a glance with Alex. We both knew that this was not just an interruption, it was an intrusion into our fragile world. "Who could that be?" I whispered. "I'll check," he said, moving toward the door with an ease that belied my anxiety. I took a deep breath as he opened it to reveal Mrs. Thompson from next door, her smile bright but her eyes sharp with curiosity. "Hello. Just thought I'd come by and see how you two are doing with all this renovation," she said cheerfully, peering over Alex's shoulder into our makeshift workspace. "Just fine," Alex replied quickly, stepping aside to let her in while shooting me a nervous look. Mrs. Thompson's gaze flickered between us, her eyes narrowing slightly as if she sensed something beneath our casual demeanor. "You're making great progress. This place is going to look wonderful." "Thanks," I managed to say while forcing a smile that felt more like a grimace. As she chatted about her recent gardening exploits, my mind raced. How were we supposed to act? Every glance shared with Alex felt charged now, layers of meaning wrapped tightly around each moment like vines climbing an old trellis. Suddenly overwhelmed by guilt and confusion, I excused myself to grab some water from the kitchen. The coolness of the tile under my feet contrasted sharply with the heat radiating from my thoughts. Could we continue this charade without being discovered? What would happen if anyone found out? When I returned to join them in what felt like an awkward dance of pleasantries, Mrs. Thompson had taken up residence on one of our old chairs while Alex leaned against the wall casually, too casually for my liking. "Are you two planning on having any help?" she asked innocently enough but with an undertone that suggested she was fishing for information. "Oh no," I interjected quickly before Alex could respond. "We're managing just fine on our own." Her eyebrows raised slightly at my defensive tone, but she smiled again and nodded as if satisfied with my answer. "Well, if you need anything at all, you know where to find me," she said cheerfully before taking her leave. Once she left, tension filled the space like smoke after a fire had been extinguished too quickly. "That was close," Alex said softly as he ran his fingers through his hair in frustration. I sighed heavily and leaned against the wall opposite him. "What are we doing?" The question slipped out before I could catch it, a raw admission of uncertainty hanging between us like cobwebs in corners long forgotten. "I don't know," he admitted quietly as he stepped closer again. Our proximity ignited an electric spark that made it hard to breathe normally again. "But whatever it is, it feels real." Our lips met then, an impulsive decision fueled by confusion and longing that both terrified and exhilarated me all at once. In that moment, everything else faded away, the renovations, Mrs. Thompson's probing questions, all drowned out by an undeniable connection that surged between us like wildfire through dry brush. But reality came crashing back when we pulled away from each other breathless yet shaken by what had just happened. The kiss lingered like an echo in a vast empty room where secrets thrived amid shadows cast long by fading light outside filtering through dusty windowsills framing our lives together now forever altered by what had transpired here today. "I should go," Alex said suddenly looking pained as if realizing how dangerous this situation had become for both of us. The gravity weighing heavily on his shoulders now too much to bear alone anymore without risking everything we'd built so far together even amidst chaos surrounding us both now threatening unravel everything dear held closely within hearts yearning desperately find solace. Somewhere safe away from prying eyes watching always lurking nearby. Before he could leave completely though, I reached out grabbing hold tightly onto his arm pulling him back towards me once more feeling urgency rise within chest pounding loudly against ribcage begging not let go yet despite knowing consequences looming dangerously close ahead awaiting patiently just outside, door waiting ready strike when least expect. Then my phone buzzed insistently against countertop interrupting fragile moment shared between us pulling attention away from everything else happening right here right now forcing reality crash down upon shoulders already burdened enough without adding weight additional. Complications looming large overhead threatening disrupt everything once again. It was my husband calling. His name lit up on screen stark reminder of life outside these walls reminding me still tethered down firmly ground below feet planted firmly even amidst heights reached soaring high above clouds drifting gently far away beyond reach sometimes feeling lost among stars. shining brightly overhead, illuminating paths taken long ago leading towards uncertain futures yet unseen, waiting patiently unfold before eyes wide open, ready embrace whatever comes next without hesitation nor fear, holding tightly onto dreams held dear, still alive within hearts yearning, desperately find peace somewhere safe amidst storms raging wildly outside, every day passing slowly, inching closer towards inevitable conclusion, waiting patiently arrive soon enough. The morning light filtered through the half-drawn curtains, casting soft shadows across the room. I lay there, tangled in the sheets, listening to the rhythmic sound of Alex's breathing beside me. A part of me wanted to stay in this moment forever, cocooned away from the world outside. But another part, a more practical part, knew that reality would soon intrude. The knock on the door shattered the fragile peace. My heart raced as I exchanged a glance with Alex. His eyes mirrored my panic, a silent acknowledgement of what we had done and what it might mean. "Is it?" he started, but I held up a finger to my lips, urging silence. The knock came again, more insistent this time. "It's probably just a delivery," I whispered, though I knew deep down that it could only be one person, my husband. I swung my legs over the side of the bed and stood up slowly, trying to shake off the remnants of sleep and confusion that clung to me like a shroud. Alex remained still, his gaze fixed on me as if he were willing me to make a decision that felt monumental. "Stay here," I instructed softly before slipping into my robe and heading for the door. Each step felt heavy with uncertainty. I opened the door cautiously, bracing myself for whatever awaited me on the other side. There he was, Tom, standing there with an expression that was hard to read. He looked tired but determined, his hair slightly disheveled as if he had just rolled out of bed. "Emily," he said, his voice steady but laced with an undercurrent of concern. "We need to talk." "Now?" I asked, glancing back over my shoulder at Alex's silhouette in the dim light of the bedroom. "Yes," Tom replied firmly, stepping inside without waiting for an invitation. "I didn't mean to catch you off guard like this." I closed the door behind him and turned back to face him fully. "What's going on?" He ran a hand through his hair, a gesture I recognized well from years of shared moments filled with love and frustration alike. "I've been thinking about us, about everything." "What do you mean?" My stomach churned at his words, they felt too heavy for this moment. "I know things haven't been great between us lately," he continued, taking a step closer. "I've been distant." His eyes searched mine for understanding or perhaps forgiveness. "I've noticed," I replied carefully, feeling like we were treading on thin ice. "I want to fix things," he said earnestly. "I'm willing to put in the effort if you are." His words hung in the air like smoke from a fire, intangible yet suffocating, and all at once, I was reminded of all those moments when we had shared laughter and love before life had pulled us apart. "Tom," I started but hesitated as Alex emerged from behind me into view. "Hey," Alex said softly but firmly enough that it drew both our attentions immediately toward him. Tom's expression shifted from concern to something harder as he took in Alex standing there in casual clothes, a stark contrast to his own work attire that seemed too formal for this unexpected encounter. "You're here?" Tom asked incredulously. "It's complicated," Alex replied simply as if that explained everything. "Complicated how?" Tom pressed sharply, crossing his arms defensively across his chest. I stepped between them instinctively, my heart raced at how quickly tensions were rising around us. "Let's all just take a breath," I suggested, desperately trying to diffuse what felt like an impending explosion. "I think we need honesty right now," Tom said pointedly while looking directly at Alex, who stood firm despite being outnumbered by our shared history and Tom's imposing presence. "This isn't just about you two anymore," Alex interjected calmly but with urgency beneath his voice. "It's about Emily too." The weight of those words settled heavily in the air between us, the three of us caught in an emotional web woven from choices made in moments of vulnerability and longing for connection. "What exactly is going on?" Tom demanded again. Frustration simmered beneath his voice now as he struggled against feelings of betrayal rising within him like bile threatening to spill over into anger. We spent the night together. The confession slipped out before I could stop myself, an impulsive act fueled by desperation for clarity amidst chaos swirling around us all. Silence enveloped us instantly. Even time seemed hesitant to move forward after such an admission hung heavily between breaths taken too quickly afterward. What? Tom's voice broke through first, the shock evident across every feature etched into his face, a mix of disbelief and hurt flooding through him visibly now even as he fought hard against it, showing outwardly still maintaining composure somehow despite everything unraveling so rapidly around us all. It wasn't supposed to happen like this, I stammered awkwardly, trying desperately find words capable soothing wounds already inflicted far deeper than any physical blow ever could manage. But no amount reasoning could possibly mend fractures laid bare before us, now exposed, raw nerves laid open wide without any semblance protection shielding them anymore. How long has this been going on? Tom demanded again, though softer now than before. Curiosity mingling with pain reflected back towards me, searching desperately answers hidden somewhere deep within myself, still struggling comprehend everything unfolding right here, right now. A few weeks. My voice trailed off, finally admitting truth long buried beneath layers, denial built upon years spent avoiding confronting issues festering quietly beneath surface, waiting patiently erupt unexpectedly when least expected, catch everyone completely off guard, leaving nothing untouched by fallout left behind once dust settles, finally revealing scars left behind forever, changed lives intertwined, irrevocably altered paths taken long ago, leading towards uncertain futures awaiting. Discovery yet unseen waiting patiently unfold before eyes wide open, ready embrace whatever comes next without hesitation nor fear, holding tightly onto dreams held dear, still alive within hearts yearning desperately, find peace somewhere safe amidst storms raging wildly outside every day, passing slowly, inching closer towards inevitable conclusion, waiting patiently arrive soon enough. Tom looked away then. Pain etched deeply across every line, carved into familiar features, weathered time passed together, shared moments filled laughter, tears alike shifting dramatically right here, right now, threatening disrupt everything once again. The air was thick with tension as Tom settled back into the house, his presence a stark reminder of the life I had been trying to escape, even if only temporarily. The renovations had been a welcome distraction, a way to breathe new life into our home and perhaps our marriage. Yet now, with Tom's return, I felt the weight of my choices pressing down on me like the dust that coated every surface we had yet to touch. Alex had left that morning, promising to return later in the week. His job offer loomed over us like a dark cloud, casting shadows on the fragile connection we had built. I could still see his face when he confessed his plans to leave town. It was a mixture of hope and despair that mirrored my own internal struggle. What would happen to us if he went? Would I be able to go back to the way things were? I busied myself in the kitchen, trying to focus on preparing dinner while Tom settled into his usual routine. He flipped through channels on the television, oblivious to the storm brewing within me. The sound of laughter from a sitcom filled the room, an ironic contrast to my swirling thoughts. I stirred the pot on the stove absent-mindedly, lost in memories of happier times when Tom and I shared meals filled with conversation rather than this awkward silence. "Emily?" Tom's voice broke through my reverie. "You okay?" "Yeah," I replied too quickly, forcing a smile that didn't quite reach my eyes. He glanced at me skeptically before returning his attention to the screen. My heart raced as guilt washed over me like cold water. How could I pretend everything was fine when Alex lingered in my thoughts like a ghost? Later that evening, after dinner was cleared away and Tom retreated into his study with a book, I found myself wandering through the house. Each room echoed with memories, our wedding day captured in photographs lining the walls, laughter ringing out from family gatherings now long past. But as I moved through each space, I felt more like a visitor than a resident. In our bedroom, I opened the drawer of my nightstand and found an old ring, an anniversary gift from Tom years ago. It glimmered under the dim light as I picked it up and turned it over in my fingers. The memories flooded back, promises made amidst dreams of forever, how we thought love would be enough. But time had eroded that foundation. As much as I wanted to hold on to those moments, they felt distant now, a fading photograph in an album collecting dust. A knock at the door startled me from my thoughts. It was Alex. He must have returned earlier than expected. My heart raced at seeing him again so soon. "Hey," he said softly as he stepped inside. "Hey," I replied, feeling both relieved and anxious at his presence. He looked around nervously before settling his gaze on me. "I didn't think you'd be alone." "I'm not," I said quickly but then added more softly, "Tom's here." Alex's face fell slightly at that revelation. "Oh, right." We stood there for a moment in silence, the weight of unspoken words hanging between us like a fragile thread ready to snap under pressure. "Can we talk?" he finally asked. I nodded slowly and led him into the living room where we could speak without fear of being overheard by Tom. As we sat across from each other on opposite ends of the couch, tension crackled in the air like static electricity before a storm. "I don't want you to feel trapped," Alex began cautiously. "If you need space or time, or if this isn't what you want anymore." "No." The word escaped my lips before I could stop it. "It's not that." He looked relieved but wary at my outburst. My voice faltered as emotions surged within me again, love mingling with guilt and confusion all at once. "I don't know how to navigate this." Alex leaned forward slightly, his expression earnest. "What about us? What do you want?" That question hung heavily between us, a crossroads demanding an answer neither of us was ready for yet somehow knew was inevitable. Before I could respond, footsteps echoed down the hallway, Tom emerging from his study again with an unreadable expression on his face. "Everything okay?" he asked casually but with an edge of concern lacing his tone. "Yeah," Alex replied too quickly while glancing at me for reassurance that wasn't there. Tom seemed unconvinced but nodded slowly before retreating back into his sanctuary away from our conversation, a fortress built around unspoken truths and hidden resentments. Once he disappeared again behind closed doors, Alex sighed heavily beside me. "This isn't fair." "No," I agreed quietly but felt helpless against circumstances spiraling out of control around us both, a whirlwind threatening everything we had begun building together amidst shattered dreams elsewhere. "I don't want you to feel guilty about this," Alex continued firmly yet tenderly reaching across space between us until our fingers brushed together lightly, a spark igniting something deeper within me despite fear holding tight around heartstrings frayed by indecision already tugging painfully taut inside my chest now more than ever before. Then suddenly it hit me, the realization that every moment spent avoiding decisions only deepened wounds left unattended longer than necessary already cutting deeper still each passing day. "What if?" My voice trailed off uncertainly even though clarity came rushing forward like floodwaters breaking free from constraints holding them captive too long already waiting just beyond horizon line ahead waiting patiently beckoning forth towards unknown futures yet unseen, unfolding before eyes wide open ready embrace whatever comes next without hesitation nor fear holding tightly onto dreams held dear still alive within hearts yearning desperately find peace somewhere safe amidst storms. Raging wildly outside every day passing slowly inching closer towards inevitable conclusion waiting patiently arrive soon enough. But Alex's expression shifted suddenly, an unexpected flicker crossing over features etched deeply revealing uncertainty lurking beneath surface once more ready erupt unexpectedly when least expected catching everyone completely off guard leaving nothing untouched by fallout left behind once dust settles finally revealing scars left behind forever changed lives intertwined irrevocably altered paths taken long ago leading towards uncertain futures awaiting discovery yet unseen waiting patiently. unfold before eyes wide open, ready embrace whatever comes next without hesitation nor fear, holding tightly onto dreams held dear, still alive within hearts yearning desperately, find peace somewhere safe amidst storms raging wildly outside, every day passing slowly, inching closer towards inevitable conclusion, waiting patiently arrive soon enough. And just then, a loud crash echoed through our home, followed by an unmistakable shout from Tom's direction, a sound filled with anger and confusion piercing through fragile atmosphere surrounding us both, threatening disrupt everything once again. The sound of Tom's voice shattered the fragile calm that had enveloped Alex and me. I stood frozen, heart racing, as I processed the anger lacing his words. The renovation project, which had initially felt like a fresh start, now loomed over me like a heavy cloud, threatening to rain down chaos on everything I had been trying to build. Emily. Where are you? Tom's voice echoed through the house again, sharper this time. It was a call that demanded an answer, one that pulled me back into the reality I had been trying to escape. I'm in here, I responded, my voice steady despite the turmoil within. I glanced at Alex, who stood just a few feet away. His expression mirrored my own, confusion mixed with concern. We exchanged a brief look, a silent acknowledgement of the tension that hung between us. As I walked toward the living room where Tom's voice came from, every step felt heavy with consequence. Memories of laughter and warmth in this space clashed with the current reality of resentment and unspoken words. The walls seemed to close in around me as I approached my husband. Tom was standing by the front door, his face flushed with frustration. What's going on? You've been acting strange since we started this project, he said, arms crossed tightly over his chest. Nothing's going on, I replied too quickly, trying to sound convincing even though doubt crept into my tone. I've just been busy with the renovations. Busy? Or avoiding me? He stepped closer, eyes narrowing slightly as he searched for answers in my expression. The question hung in the air like smoke from a fire, thick and suffocating. I'm not avoiding you, I insisted, though guilt gnawed at my insides. It wasn't just about the renovations, it was about everything else, the distance that had grown between us over time. Tom shook his head dismissively. You can't keep pretending everything is fine when it's not. His voice softened momentarily before hardening again. I saw you two together earlier. My heart dropped at his words. Together? What do you mean? I saw you and Alex laughing outside while you were working on the porch, he said, bitterness creeping into his tone. It looked intimate. The accusation stung more than I expected it to. We were just working on the house. My defensiveness flared up instinctively. Just working? Really? Tom scoffed, disbelief etched across his features. Is that all it is? Because it doesn't look like that to me. I could feel Alex behind me. His presence was both comforting and alarming as Tom's scrutiny intensified. The weight of our shared secret pressed heavily against my chest while Tom's gaze darted between us. Emily, he continued, his voice low but firm, if there's something going on between you two. There isn't. I interrupted sharply. My hands clenched into fists at my sides as anger surged within me, not just at Tom but at myself for allowing things to spiral so far out of control. Tom let out a humorless laugh that sent chills down my spine. You think I'm blind? You think I don't notice how different you've been? I opened my mouth to respond but found no words coming out, only silence filled the space between us like an unbridgeable chasm. Before either of us could continue down this path of confrontation, Alex stepped forward hesitantly. Maybe we should talk about this later, he suggested gently. No, Tom's eyes narrowed further as he turned toward Alex with an intensity that made me shiver involuntarily. You don't get to decide when we talk about this. Tom, my voice was softer now as desperation crept in. I didn't want this moment to explode any further than it already had. But before I could say anything more, Alex spoke up again, his tone firm yet cautious. Emily deserves honesty from both of us. The statement hung in the air like an unwelcome truth. Honesty felt so far removed from what we were living right now. What do you know about honesty? Tom shot back bitterly at Alex before turning back to me with an expression that twisted into something almost pleading yet accusatory all at once. Are you really going to let him speak for you? I felt trapped between two worlds, the life I'd built with Tom and the unexpected connection I'd found with Alex during our time together amidst paint cans and dust sheets. I'm tired of pretending, I finally admitted in a whisper that felt almost sacrilegious against our shared history, the years spent building a life together filled with dreams and disappointments alike. Tom's expression shifted slightly, surprise flickered across his features before being replaced by something darker, a mix of hurt and anger battling for dominance within him. What do you mean by that? He demanded softly now, a dangerous calm settling over him as if he were preparing for something inevitable and painful. Before I could respond or clarify what lay beneath those words, what they truly meant, I caught sight of Alex's face behind Tom's shoulder. Uncertainty played across his features as he remained rooted in place like a statue caught in time. In that momentary pause filled only by silence and tension simmering beneath our skin, it became painfully clear. Whatever path lay ahead would require choices none of us were ready to make but would have no choice but to confront soon enough. As if sensing my turmoil, or perhaps sensing something deeper, I noticed Alex shift slightly closer toward me without breaking eye contact, a gesture filled with both reassurance and fear intertwined within its meaning. Would we continue down this road together or retreat back into shadows cast by secrets? The air thickened around us until it became almost unbearable, a pressure cooker ready to explode under heat left unattended too long while lingering doubts festered quietly beneath its surface waiting for release. And then another sound broke through. The unmistakable creak of floorboards upstairs echoed ominously through our home, a reminder that life continued beyond this moment even if everything else felt suspended in time. The realization hit hard. Whatever decision awaited us wouldn't just impact ourselves but would send ripples throughout every corner of our lives, even those hidden beneath layers long left untouched. The evening air was thick with unspoken words, and the vibrant sounds of Asheville's festival drifted in from outside. I stood at the window, my heart racing as I caught sight of Alex across the street. He was laughing with a group of friends, but his eyes darted in my direction, searching. The weight of our secret hung heavily between us, a tether that both drew us together and threatened to pull us apart. As I turned away from the window, I could feel the tension coiling in my chest. My husband had gone out for a few hours, ostensibly to meet a friend. The house felt eerily quiet without his presence, and I couldn't shake the feeling that this would be the moment everything changed. I glanced at the half-finished renovations surrounding me, walls stripped bare, paint cans strewn about like forgotten dreams. Each room echoed with memories of laughter and arguments alike, a testament to a life shared that now felt increasingly fragile. The home was both my sanctuary and my prison. A knock on the door startled me from my thoughts. It was Alex, looking slightly disheveled yet undeniably charming in his relaxed attire. He stepped inside without waiting for an invitation, his eyes scanning the room before landing on me. "Hey," he said softly, closing the door behind him. "I thought we could talk." "About what?" I asked, trying to keep my tone light despite the gravity of our situation. "About us," he replied, stepping closer. "About what's happening between us." The air crackled with tension as I considered his words. My heart raced at the thought of openly discussing our relationship while shadows loomed over every corner of my life. "I don't know if we should," I finally said, glancing towards the door as if expecting someone to walk in at any moment. He took another step forward, lowering his voice. "Emily, we can't keep pretending like this isn't real." "I know," I whispered back, feeling torn between desire and duty. "But what about everything else?" Alex sighed deeply, frustration etched across his face. I overheard your husband talking to one of his friends earlier, he confessed quietly. He has doubts about your marriage too. My breath caught in my throat at his revelation. A mixture of relief and anxiety washed over me. His doubts mirrored mine but also added another layer of complexity to our already tangled web. What did he say? I pressed urgently. He mentioned feeling disconnected from you, Alex replied carefully. Like he's lost you somewhere along the way. The truth hit me like a wave crashing against rocky shores. My husband wasn't oblivious to our struggles, he was just as lost as I was. But instead of bringing us closer together, it seemed to widen the chasm between us. I just don't know how to move forward, I admitted finally. Maybe we need to stop hiding, Alex suggested gently but firmly. His gaze bore into mine as if searching for an answer buried deep within me. We can't just throw everything away, I countered weakly. Are you saying you want to stay? He asked pointedly. The question hung heavily in the air between us, a challenge wrapped in vulnerability that demanded an answer I wasn't ready to give. Before I could respond, there was another knock on the door, this time more insistent than before. Emily. Are you in there? It was my husband's voice calling out through the wood paneling. Panic surged through me as Alex took a step back instinctively toward the shadows cast by furniture and half-finished projects around him. My heart raced. We hadn't prepared for this moment, the intersection where our lives collided with all their messy realities. I'll be right there. I called out hastily while trying to mask my fear with feigned calmness. Alex shot me a look filled with urgency mixed with concern before retreating further into darkness as if vanishing into thin air would somehow shield us from what lay ahead. I opened the door cautiously to find my husband standing there with an expectant look on his face, a mix of curiosity and something deeper that made me uneasy. Hey, he said casually enough but didn't miss how flustered I appeared or how quickly Alex had disappeared into shadows behind me. Just working on some things, I replied nonchalantly while trying not to glance back toward where Alex had hidden himself away moments earlier. His eyes narrowed slightly as if sensing something beneath my surface-level response but chose not to press further at that moment. Instead, he stepped inside and closed the door behind him, the weight of unspoken words settling heavily around us once more. I thought maybe we could go check out that festival together, he suggested after a brief silence fell between us like an awkward blanket draped over our shoulders, heavy yet familiar despite its discomforting nature. That sounds nice, I responded hesitantly while mentally calculating how much time Alex might need before leaving unnoticed through another exit or perhaps slipping out entirely through an open window somewhere nearby. A plan forming in my mind even as uncertainty gripped me tightly like vines wrapping around an old tree trunk, suffocating its growth potential beneath layers upon layers of neglect. As we made our way down towards downtown Asheville, the vibrant streets bustling with life, I couldn't shake off what had transpired earlier nor could ignore how close Alex remained even now despite being physically absent from sight yet ever present within thoughts swirling endlessly around me like leaves caught up amidst autumn winds swirling unpredictably, across town squares filled with laughter echoing all around. The festival lights twinkled overhead like stars come down from above, musicians played lively tunes while families gathered close together enjoying each other's company. An illusionary sense of normalcy enveloping everything surrounding us yet concealing deeper truths lurking underneath its surface. When we arrived at one booth laden with colorful crafts handmade by local artisans showcasing their talents proudly before eager patrons passing by, I spotted him again across from where we stood, Alex leaning casually against a wall watching intently, their eyes locking briefly sending sparks flying through space separating them as though invisible strings connected them despite distance created by circumstance alone. A sudden rush coursed through my veins igniting something primal within, a reminder that choices made carried consequences far beyond mere moments lived fleetingly day after day. And then it happened, amidst laughter ringing out everywhere around us, I heard whispers floating past, "Did you hear? They say Emily is getting close with her nephew." The words struck hard like arrows piercing through flesh, leaving wounds unseen yet felt deeply within, each syllable echoing harsh realities threatening everything built thus far while also revealing vulnerabilities exposed beneath layers long kept hidden away. With every passing second spent among those jubilant crowds filled with joy, I sensed walls crumbling around me, threatening all semblance of control held tightly until now. The festival buzzed with life, colors swirling in the air like confetti. As I walked through the lively streets of Asheville, I felt the weight of my decisions pressing down on me. The laughter and music surrounded me, yet within my chest, an unsettling silence echoed louder than any celebration. Alex was somewhere nearby, and I could sense his presence even before I saw him. He stood at the edge of a crowd, his hands tucked into the pockets of his jeans, a hesitant smile on his lips. The sight of him sent a rush of warmth through me, but it was quickly overshadowed by the reality of my situation. My husband had been distant lately, caught up in his own world while I navigated uncharted waters with Alex. The contrast between their two worlds felt stark and suffocating. "Hey," Alex greeted as I approached him. His voice was soft yet filled with an urgency that mirrored my own tumultuous thoughts. "Hey," I replied, trying to keep my tone light despite the heaviness in my heart. We moved away from the throng of festival-goers to a quieter corner where we could talk without interruption. The vibrant colors faded into a blur as I focused on him. "What are you thinking?" he asked, searching my eyes for answers. "I'm just trying to figure everything out," I said cautiously. "This place feels so alive, yet all I can think about is how everything is changing." His expression shifted from curiosity to concern. "I don't want to pressure you, Emily. But we can't keep pretending this is just a summer fling." The truth hung between us like an unspoken promise and an unbearable burden at once. "You're right," I admitted quietly. "But what do we do now?" Before he could respond, a familiar voice broke into our moment. My husband appeared at the edge of our secluded space, his brow furrowed in confusion and suspicion. "Emily? There you are," he called out, his tone laced with irritation. Alex tensed beside me as if bracing for impact. I started to explain but faltered under my husband's scrutinizing gaze. "Just what?" "Hiding," he snapped, taking a step closer. I felt heat rise to my cheeks as embarrassment washed over me like cold water. "No. We were just talking." "Talking?" He scoffed incredulously before turning to Alex with narrowed eyes. "What's going on here?" The tension thickened in the air. It felt like a rubber band stretched too tight about to snap. Alex shifted slightly but held his ground beside me. "We were discussing the renovations," he said carefully. My husband's gaze darted between us as if searching for cracks in our facade. "Renovations? You've been spending too much time together for just that." A knot formed in my stomach as realization dawned upon me. He suspected something deeper than mere conversation about paint colors and floor plans. "I think you need to calm down," Alex interjected defensively but still respectful. "Calm down?" My husband's voice rose dangerously as he took another step forward. "You think this is just some misunderstanding? You're both acting like there's nothing wrong." I stepped between them instinctively, feeling an overwhelming urge to protect Alex from my husband's rising anger while also trying to shield myself from an impending confrontation that threatened everything I had built, or rather destroyed, over these past weeks. "Let's not do this here," I pleaded softly but firmly, glancing at both men who stood at opposite ends of my emotional spectrum. But before either could respond, a loud crash rang out nearby. A vendor's table toppled over amidst startled gasps from onlookers around us. The distraction broke the tension momentarily. People rushed toward the commotion while we remained frozen in place like statues caught in a storm. "Emily." My husband turned back to me sharply once more as if realizing how vulnerable our situation truly was amidst such chaos surrounding us. "What do you want from me?" My voice trembled slightly, the frustration bubbling beneath my skin now threatening to spill over entirely. "I want honesty," he shouted back suddenly. His frustration echoed through the crowd that had turned its attention toward us once more due to the disturbance nearby. Alex stepped forward again but paused when I raised my hand slightly, a signal for him not to intervene further, at least for now, while emotions ran high around us all three, caught up in this whirlwind of feelings and truths long buried beneath layers built over years spent together or apart depending on how one chose to see it. "I'm sorry." My voice barely rose above whispers now. Vulnerability seeped into every syllable spoken under scrutiny from both men who represented different aspects of life itself. The familiar comforts versus uncharted desires, yearning for release without consequence hanging overhead like dark clouds readying themselves for storms brewing within hearts torn between loyalty and longing, clashing against each other violently yet silently. Beneath surface-level smiles exchanged daily among friends, family, lovers alike. Suddenly another loud cheer erupted from beyond where we stood. Someone had won something, a prize perhaps, but it felt hollow against backdrop against which personal battles raged fiercely, unseen yet deeply felt by all involved. And then it hit me, the sudden realization that perhaps this was exactly what needed confronting. The truth behind every decision made, every secret kept buried deep inside hearts yearning desperately for connection, fulfillment lost somewhere along winding roads traveled together apart during years gone by. As everything swirled around me, the music, laughter, cheers fading into background noise, I caught sight of something shimmering beneath layers worn thin by time. A flashback flickered through memory. My wedding day, standing under bright blue skies surrounded by loved ones promising forever. But what did forever mean anymore when faced with choices that could unravel everything? Before clarity could settle upon me fully, another sound broke through, the sharp ring of reality crashing down hard against fragile dreams woven tightly within threads spun delicately across years spent building lives together apart. My phone buzzed insistently in my pocket, pulling focus away momentarily until finally breaking free, grasping tightly onto something tangible within grasp yet feeling utterly intangible at same time. Fumbling nervously, fingers danced across screen revealing name attached, bringing forth tidal waves crashing hard against shores left unguarded, open wide awaiting answers long sought after finally surfacing only now amid chaos unfolding around us all. And then came realization. An unexpected message revealing secrets hidden beneath surface, masking truths long buried, threatening lives built upon fragile foundations, cracking slowly under pressure, mounting steadily, forcing choices made previously come rushing forth, demanding attention urgently, without delay. In that instant, clarity struck harder than any blow ever received before, forcing decisions upon shoulders already laden, heavily burdened by responsibilities, commitments weighed down further still, leaving little room left for anything else. As those words glared back up at me, illuminating path ahead, one filled with uncertainty, risk, unknowns lurking ominously, waiting patiently just beyond reach, I couldn't help but wonder if perhaps this was where everything began unraveling, finally exposing raw truths hidden beneath layers carefully constructed over years spent crafting lives intertwined, forever altered, irrevocably changed, forevermore. And then silence fell around us, enveloping three souls caught within whirlwind, spinning wildly, out control, threatening all semblance left behind.